Hey there, Twisters. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be continuing our team-by-team series by looking at 5 reasons why I think the Nashville Predators could win the 2020 Stanley Cup. Now, a while back it seemed like the Preds weren't even going to sniff the playoffs. They replaced head coach Peter Laviolette with John Hines from New Jersey, and pretty much ever since then they've been a solid team. They had a little skid before I made this video, but they won their last game. Overall, they're looking like they could find themselves in the postseason here. So they're in the first wild card position right now, although, of course, teams are definitely competing for those 2 wild card spots. They're 4th in the Central Division, although they're not that far behind Dallas. They could potentially find their way into 3rd place by the end of the season. Let's look at some of their baseline stats before getting into the 5 reasons. So, 16th in goals for, 20th in goals against, 24th in power play, 29th in penalty kill, 4th in shots for, 16th in shots against, 4th in faceoffs. So, not really glamorous numbers there. It was definitely hard for me to find my statistical reasons or statistical justifications. But here we go. Let's dive into my 5 reasons and we'll see what you think. So, reason number 1. For them, it's all about depth. Nashville doesn't rely on one line or a couple of players to generate all the scoring for them. They have 12 players with at least 30 points, and of course that can tick up even as we get to the end of the season. So all the forwards kind of hold themselves accountable in terms of being able to generate chances, even strength. You've got Victor Arvidsson, you've got Roman Josi on the back end, you've got Philip Forsberg, Colton Sissons, Craig Smith. Just about everybody can contribute offensively there. So if they're rolling 4 lines, then they should be able to generate an ample amount of chances between the 4 sets. Not to mention that they potentially are able to wear down or have a mismatch against those bottom 6 lines for the other teams out there. So I kind of like that going their way. It's nice when, if somebody like Arvidsson is kind of in a rut, somebody else, a Craig Smith, a Colton Sissons, can kind of pick him up. So that's number 1. So reason number 2, Saros is ready to prove himself on the biggest stage. So we look at his last 8 starts, and he's only let in 13 goals. He's got a .942 save percentage and 2 shutouts. And if you look at the teams that he's been competing against, only one of them, the Ottawa Senators, aren't really considered for a playoff spot. So he's playing well against playoff-like teams in playoff-like situations there. So he's a huge reason why they are where they are right now. So I like what he's bringing to the table in the stretch run here. You also look at his numbers against the Central Division. They're particularly impressive. So you say it's his turn, it's his net. Pekka Rinne, if there's an opportunity for him to come in at some point, I think that he can probably elevate his game in the postseason, especially if he's rested there, especially if they need a goal from a goaltender. So, I hope that Rinne, can find a way to go out on top. But for right now, number 74 has what it takes to man the pipes for them in the postseason. Reason number 3, they pour it on in the 3rd period. They're a really good team at generating chances in the final stanza there. So far this year, they have outshot their opponents by a margin of 739 to 628, so over 100 shots more than their opponents, and they've outscored them by a 10-goal margin, 75 to 65. Now, I particularly like this number because the Preds are able to, I think, kind of wear down on their opponents. Their opponents have to actually get back in transition. Nashville, I've always liked the way they played in transition right there. So for the opponents to have to be on their toes, or really on their heels, in the 3rd period could definitely bode well for Nashville, a team that maybe doesn't have that firepower up front like a top line would. So if they're able to get that mismatch there late in the game, I like their chances. Reason number 4. So I'm thinking that Roman Josi has what it takes to put up a Conn Smythe level performance in the playoffs. In 2017, when the Preds went to the Stanley Cup Finals, he had a really good run there, and I think that he knows, as captain, as the highest scorer on this team, it's up to him to kind of elevate to that level that we've seen from guys like Nicholas Lidstrom, Chris Pronger, Scott Niedermayer. Even last year, like Pietrangelo played fantastic in the postseason. So Josi, it's his turn to emerge as the best defender in the playoffs, and this year I think kind of dictates or kind of suggests that he's able to do that. You look at right now, he's already set a career high in points. He's got, I think, 65. He has 16 goals. That's a career high. Assists on the power play, he's also at a career high there. So this guy has been putting up fantastic numbers. He's capable in the playoffs, in regular season, of playing nearly half the game. He's done that before. And I think that right now it's his turn. It's his time to shine for Nashville. So that's reason number 4. And reason number 5, and I think that we all know this one, Nashville likes to be the underdog. So 3 years ago when they went to the Cup Finals, in the first round they beat the Blackhawks, who had 15 points more than them in the regular season. Of course, Nashville was the second wild card there. Then they beat the St. Louis Blues, and then they beat the Ducks to get to the finals, where they lost in 6 games to the Penguins. Then in 2016, they were a wild card 1. They beat the Ducks in the first round, and then they lost in the second round in 7 games to the Sharks. And then the last 2 postseasons, they've exited earlier than they were projected to. So they lost to Dallas in overtime in Game 6, and before that, they lost to Winnipeg in 7 games. They nearly were able to come back in that series and win. So these guys, this core, knows they only get so many chances, and I think the same was definitely true for the Capitals 2 years ago. So maybe Nashville is ready to do what the Caps did 2 years ago. Maybe Smashville will come alive, and they'll regain that home ice advantage. So I think the underdogs here, coming into the playoffs, especially, riding pretty good success under John Hines, I think this could be a pretty good postseason run for them. Well, that's going to do it for this video. What do you think of Nashville's chances heading into the postseason here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. To tune into the rest of the series, make sure that you hit the red subscribe button and the notifications bell. That way you know when I'm uploading. This has been Nick with Twister Wrister Hockey. I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon.